Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Blue Ridge Survival. So today, as you can see, I'm doing another loadout video, gear setup video. Here is my gear setup for my truck. I kind of changed it up a lot since my last video. My last video I had underseat box storage compartments, and they don't work. They do work, but there's a lot of situations where it would be much more helpful to just have a bug out bag, namely bugging out. In this video, I'm going to go through my bug out bag, and I'm going to show some of the stuff I've added to my truck setup. To start out with, I have these MOLLE panels that go on the back of the seat. They're about $35 to $40 on Amazon. They're really good for keeping gear off the floor and organized, and they look absolutely sick. It makes your truck look so much more professional. So, I've obviously got a flashlight, a tourniquet here, med kit here, knife here. I've got my cuffs here, Smith & Wesson handcuffs. So I got my Smith & Wesson cuffs there and the key right here so I don't lose it. And then I've got a small water-based fire extinguisher that's supposed to be safe to spray on people if you had to. And then I've got an actual serious, decent powder extinguisher, which I got that from a barn that was abandoned, and it was a free fire extinguisher. Sure, it's expired, but it probably works. And then, of course, I actually have my actual bug out bag. But really quick, before we get to the bug out bag, let me show you what I've got in my front seat where I'm actually sitting for quick use. So first of all, I have a pretty basic IFAC. This IFAC isn't super well stocked. The one in the back is a lot better stocked. It's more like a full trauma kit. This one is very much a kind of boo-boo kit, but it's in a very accessible place. It's got medications like ibuprofen and allergy meds, some basic ace bandages, a lot of gauze, a little bit of quick clot gauze, and a lot of band-aids and all that kind of stuff that's more for smaller injuries. But it's also in a very accessible place right next to the driver's side door. So right next to my seat, I have a knife in a small Kydex sheath, which is legal because of constitutional carry, which now allows you to have guns or weapons anywhere in your vehicle in South Carolina, which is pretty sick because now I'm 18, so I can soon get a pistol. Up here, I like to keep my sunglasses, and then that's most of the stuff up here. Obviously, I have a flashlight in my glove compartment, and this usually just has my wallet. Maybe it'll have a gun when I actually have one. So now let me show you guys what I still do have in underseat storage. So under these seats, I like this truck, but I hate that the seats do not have almost any underseat storage space. I only have space for one of these MTM case guards, unfortunately. Because of the transmission, and then the other side has a jack in a mount that you can't really take out, or you can, but so I don't like that about this truck, but everything else I do like. But because of the limited storage space, I only fit one of these under there. This is my tools and road kit, as you can probably tell, as it says so. It basically just has tools and stuff in case I got stranded. So you're talking vice grips, screwdrivers, tire plug kit. I'm going to have a motorized battery-powered tire inflator in here too. Especially if I'm doing some more overlanding. Electrical tape, hex set, Allen set. It's not super well stocked right now, but I'm still putting more stuff in it. So that's the tools and road kit. And that's the only box I keep under my seats because they don't have space for anything else. So yeah, let's get to the bug out bag. So what do I actually have in my bug out bag? Clearly, I've got a decent bit, but this bag is probably only around 15 to 16 pounds. It's not a huge, heavy bug out bag. It's also not equipped with every single thing I would want in it because I just haven't filled it up I don't have every single piece of equipment I would love to have. I have everything I would really need to survive. Not necessarily everything I would need to survive a firefight, but everything I would need to survive in the wild, in a peaceful, nice, calm situation where all I'm trying to do is find my way home and basically bushcraft. So let's start with the very, very first pocket. That would be this. This thing I haven't filled up. This is just like an extra little mini survival kit that I'm keeping on it that I could take off if I needed to. So first pocket is a lensatic compass. This was about $19. It's cheap compass, but it's actual aluminum and it's heavy duty, so it works. It'll work fine for navigation. It's not a military grade one, but again, I'm doing all this on a budget, kind of over time, so I couldn't really buy $100 military grade one. So here, this is just a survival bracelet with a whistle, a little extra paracord, mini compass. Put it on if I'm actually in a survival situation, so I do have a backup compass. Got 2 of them for some reason. And that's all that's in that first compartment. It's really just a little bit of extra cordage, but mainly just my compass, which is kind of important, obviously. Second compartment here has more of my cooking stuff. So it's got forks and spoons. So in here, I have this, which I think that's everything in this. So that's just a knife that I can use for cooking. It's olive oil. I never used machine oil on it, so I can use that for cooking if I need to. It's also got paracord on it. A lot of Ziploc bags, which honestly, I don't see many people carrying, but they're so freaking useful. Like, at least carry like 10 or 11 of them. They're so useful. And then I've got a military mess pan that I can cook on if I needed to. And then I put all the stuff in it to keep it more space efficient. And here I'm getting to my actual survival stuff, so I have a couple band-aids in this, which is like literally just band-aids pretty much. The most terribly stocked med kit ever. This is my food acquisition and food kit. So I've got some 12-pound braid, 12-pound mono fishing line. I've got a small fishing kit that's got some of these little spools of line. I've got braid, that. I've also got some weights, and then a rooster tail, and then a bunch of hooks, small hooks. That's my little mini fishing kit. This is just food. It's basically trail mix and then a thing of sardines, which I don't like sardines, but they do last forever. So I just stuck it in there. This right here is basically cordage and stuff I can use to start a fire and cut firewood. Basically what I've got in this bag is a fire can, which this is super easy to make. You literally this is a sparkling water can. I cut it in half. I mixed up some lighter fluid and candle wax, 50-50, wrapped a bunch of cardboard in this in a tight loop, and then poured that wax and stuff in it to fill it most of the way up. And that when you light this can burn for a really, really, really long time. So that's what that is. I've got some carabiners and a bunch of paracord. So that's just standard paracord and carabiner kind of stuff. Some heavier duty ones. Here I have a pocket chainsaw, which honestly this is one of the coolest things you can get. They're awesome. They pinch, which is the only problem, so it is kind of helpful if you have 2 people to have one person holding the tree, pushing it up to keep it from pinching, but this thing can cut through a tree so fast. It's basically a small hand-powered chainsaw. I'm keeping all this stuff in individual plastic bags because, again, Ziploc bags are super useful. You can carry water in them if you had to. You can carry food. You can carry gear. They're waterproof if they fall in the water. They're super useful, honestly. They're incredibly useful. So that's everything in this small front section. And then in the back, I have a weird system for carrying the stuff in the back. I don't know about you, but whenever I get a backpack that has like not much of a frame, or it's just a soft backpack, it is so annoying to try to fill the entire back section, which is usually massive, and then if you don't have that much stuff to put in it, it just sags, and it's not actually carrying very well. So with this, I actually did something that's kind of crazy. maybe not that crazy, but I put one of these case guard MTMs that I had in my truck. This was my survival kit for my truck, and I actually moved it into the backpack. That way, if I do need to bug out really quick, there's no reason to just be trying to carry this thing around in one hand when I could just have it in my backpack and carry the whole backpack. So this thing is the main body of the survival kit. It's also way updated. I did a bunch of work with it. I have a bunch of EMP-proofed electronics here, which is ridiculously easy to do. And I'm pretty sure it works because I stuck a phone in it and it had no signal, so hopefully it works. But just a bag with solar brick, charging cord, and a flashlight, which is literally almost all the electronics I have in here. But those are all EMP proofed, and I'm also going to stick a radio in there soon. You just have to seal it really tight. Basically, you need to make it have tinfoil all the way around sealed, and then you have a bag in there to keep the... I don't exactly know how it works, but I just know it works. This right here is my knife care kit and 2 knives. So it's basically... Shoot, the oil is leaking. That's a problem. So it's basically just got a sharpening stone, a screwdriver, a pocket knife sharpener, and then 2 knives that I made, and then a bottle of olive oil, which works for oiling any high carbon knives you have. This is just a hygiene kit: soap, deodorant, toothbrush, toothpaste, floss, very basic hygiene kit. This is more of the survival stuff. I have it all labeled in these bags, so I've got a, let me open this up. So I've got a fire kit right here, which has a lighter, a ferro rod, and a big bag of dryer lint, which is so helpful. That's another thing you really need to keep in your survival kit, because it lights incredibly easily, and it burns a long time. This right here is just bug spray, because bugs in the south are horrible. Here's another mini fire kit that's literally just, oh my goodness. Look at this, y'all. How stupid is that? My brother took off every single match head, probably so he can make a homemade firecracker. And now I have no matches. That's interesting. That's the kind of thing that happens around here. I also have a Write in the Rain notebook for navigation, and you can write in the rain, which is nice. I have a camouflaged solar blanket, which is helpful if I'm hiding from somebody for some reason. And then I have just normal emergency blankets that are a dime a dozen. Not quite, but basically that cheap. So I also have this cheap Black & Decker saw, which for $8, it's a good saw, and I've had it for 3 years. Which is like, what? I just bought it at Family Dollar. It's like, how does it survive? It always makes cracking noises when I use it, and it sounds like it's falling apart. But it still works after multiple years of use, so just have that in there. I also have my pocket chainsaw as a backup, so I have this Gerber hatchet. This is a really good hatchet. I've used it a lot. It's great for small cutting jobs and stuff. And it's Gerber, so it's decent quality. I also have socks, because wet feet in the winter is not good. And then I have another knife, another paracord bracelet, more socks, and a dry shirt. So yeah, that's everything just about in this small MTM case guard case, which also, if I dropped my backpack in the water, this stuff is very waterproof, because the case guard is mostly waterproof, because it's got a rubber seal around it. So it's not going to be waterproof, like super waterproof, but it will be waterproof enough. And then everything's plastic bagged. So everything in there is mostly waterproof. So if I did like fall in the stream or something, I wouldn't have to worry about all my stuff being ruined. And here I have the good old US canteen and canteen cup. These canteen cups are so freaking useful. I love them so much. And they've got that thing so you can actually pick them up without burning yourself. They're very useful. That's why I actually have 2 of them, 2 canteens and 2 canteen cups. So that's what I like to keep in there. And then very bottom, I have a Camelus fixed blade knife. This thing gets very sharp. It's very cheap, and I've used it. again, all of this stuff I use all the time and it hasn't broken. So even if you do get cheap gear, because you're on a budget, it honestly holds up pretty good. And then you don't have to worry about buying it, and you can buy multiple. Like in this pack, I've probably got 8 or 9 knives. So if one of them breaks, I've got like 5 other fixed blades. And it's a very cheap knife that's actually very sharp and very good quality. So that's the stuff I keep in my Bugout bag. And this thing fits nicely in here, and it acts as a pack frame so that you have to worry so much less about the bag sagging. And it takes up a nice, good bit of room instead of, if you just had a bunch of loose plastic bags in there, they would pretty much all just go to the bottom and it might fill it up to there, and the rest of it would be sagging. So this thing does have a little bit of a pack frame, but it's like a soft back pack frame. It's just like a rigid insert that goes in there. So you do need some kind of rigid thing in the very back to hold this backpack up. So yeah, that's my Bugout bag. It's a pretty decent sized one. And then of course there's also some exterior modifications I've done to the truck just to make it slightly more tactical. For instance, 4x4 is nice to have, obviously. I've got ditch lights on it, which are also nice to have for when you are trying to see on either side of the road, especially with these stupid tinted windows that I can't see out of. I replaced the headlights, which were fogged, so I have a little bit better reach. But of course, this is one of the things I would just recommend to get. Light bars are insane. They're so freaking bright. You could, if you weren't using your headlights, you could run your truck just with the light bar very easily. The light bar is like twice as bright as the headlights. The light bar is incredibly helpful. So those are just like the basic little things I've done to it to make it a little bit more useful in some kind of situation. So yeah. And if you're looking for like MOLLE panels or something on Amazon, they're really well, they're not really cheap, but they're like 40 bucks and they're really easy. There's so many models of them. I got the cheapest one I could find and it's pretty good. Quick announcement, I am starting filming of my Table Rock documentary in about a week or 2. That should be coming out in October or November. If everything goes according to plan, November or October, and we will have a full-length 45 to 50-minute Table Rock documentary about missing people in this little park that's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Thank you for watching. If you stuck around till the end of the video, congratulations. You watched through the entire video. Good job. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time on Blue Ridge Survival.